Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going back in time to the very beginning of personal computing.
Yeah, 1981 to be exact. We found this amazing interview with Steve Jobs.
From February 18th, 1981.
It's on this cool YouTube channel called Sir Mix-a-Lot Rare Music.
It's a gold mine for this kind of stuff.
And this interview is so insightful because it captures Jobs' vision right at the cusp of the personal computer revolution,
Hmm.
right when things were really starting to take off.
It's like a time capsule.
Exactly. And one of the things that really struck me right off the bat is how Jobs immediately makes this distinction between personal computers and home computers.
Oh yeah, he's very clear about that. He insists that the home is just a location. It's not what defines this technology.
Right. And his reasoning is fascinating. He argues that in 1981, the home market just wasn't ready for personal computers.
Yeah, there were a couple of big reasons for that. First, there weren't really enough compelling applications yet. Like, what could you actually do with these things at home that would make them indispensable?
And the other big hurdle was the cost. Absolutely. Making these sophisticated, user-friendly computers was still incredibly expensive, way out of reach for most households.
So it was really more about individual empowerment than any particular location.
Exactly. Jobs saw these machines as tools to empower individuals, to give them access to the kind of computing power that had previously only been available to large institutions.
To really drive home this vision, he uses a really striking analogy: the fractional horsepower electric motor.
It seems a little random at first, but the more you think about it, the more brilliant it becomes.
Right. It's not about the size, it's about the accessibility of power. Just like the electric motor revolutionized factories and everyday life by making power available on a smaller scale.
Jobs believed the personal computer would do the same thing for computing power.
It would democratize access to information and tools that could amplify human potential.
And he takes this idea even further with another captivating analogy: the personal computer as a bicycle for the mind.
Oh, that's the one that really stuck with me. He actually references a Scientific American article.
The one that compared the efficiency of human movement with and without a bicycle.
That's the one. And what's fascinating is how Jobs connects this to the idea of tools that enhance our inherent capabilities.
The bicycle doesn't change what humans are, it changes what we're capable of. It allows us to go further, faster, and with less effort.
It extends our physical reach.
Exactly. And Jobs saw the personal computer as doing the same thing for our mental reach.
It's this idea of cognitive tools, extending our ability to think, process information, and create.
And for Jobs, this wasn't just about speed or efficiency. It was about freeing people from tedious, repetitive tasks.
So they could focus on more creative and conceptual work.
It's about augmenting human intelligence, not replacing it.
Which makes you wonder, did Jobs envision these bicycles for the mind becoming as commonplace as, say, refrigerators?
He doesn't explicitly say that in this interview,
Okay.
but he does point to the rapid adoption of personal computers in education at the time.
Oh,
He mentions that by 1981, something like 97% of Minnesota high school graduates had hands-on experience with an Apple computer.
wow, that's incredible.
It is. And to really illustrate how quickly technology can shift, he uses a couple of other examples, like Xerox machines replacing carbon paper
Oh, yeah.
and the HP 35 calculator making slide rules obsolete within a decade.
I remember those slide rules. My dad used to have one.
They were ubiquitous,
Yeah.
and then suddenly, poof, gone, replaced by something faster, more powerful, and more convenient.
It's like what we've seen with smartphones. They've completely transformed the way we communicate, access information, and even think about the world.
It's a powerful reminder that the seemingly indispensable tools of one era can become relics in the blink of an eye.
It makes you wonder what the next big shift will be.
Right. What are we using today that our kids will look at and say, what is that?
That's a good question to ponder. But speaking of rapid technological change, back in 1981, a lot of people were afraid of computers. There was this fear of them becoming too powerful, too controlling.
Oh, yeah, the Big Brother scenario from 1984.
Exactly. People imagine these machines taking over our lives and stripping us of our freedom.
And Jobs directly addresses that concern in this interview.
He does.
He emphasizes that personal computers are decentralized, democratic tools that empower individuals, the complete opposite of those large, centralized controlling computers people were worried about.
So he saw them as a force for good, not a threat to humanity.
Absolutely. He believed they could enhance our lives, not control them.
It's interesting because the interviewer actually compares Apple to Mattel and Atari.
The big video game companies at the time.
Yeah, Like, he's suggesting that Apple is just making toys for adults.
And Jobs firmly pushes back. He's adamant that Apple is making tools, not toys.
He saw them as having real practical applications, not just for entertainment.
He even predicts that the personal computer industry would focus on making computers increasingly user-friendly.
Which seems a bit paradoxical at first. You'd think simpler computers would be less sophisticated, right?
Right. But Jobs understood that user-friendliness wasn't about dumbing things down.
It was about making the technology more intuitive and accessible to everyone.
Exactly. And that actually requires a lot of sophistication behind the scenes.
So you're saying that making computers simpler to use actually requires them to be more complex internally.
Exactly. More processing power has to be dedicated to adapting to human ways of thinking and working, to making the interactions seamless and intuitive.
It's like he's saying that technology should become invisible, allowing users to focus on their tasks and ideas rather than wrestling with the machine itself.
That's a great way to put it. And a lot of what we take for granted today, the graphical user interface, the mouse, were just starting to emerge back then.
Those were huge steps toward that vision of user-friendliness.
Definitely. Those innovations were crucial in making computers more intuitive and accessible. Jobs understood that the future of personal computing wasn't about complex command lines. It was about creating a seamless, intuitive experience for the user.
And it's fascinating how Jobs' own upbringing shaped this vision. He talks about being a product of Silicon Valley and his admiration for pioneers like Hewlett and Packard.
He describes Silicon Valley as having this unique entrepreneurial risk culture, built on a foundation of innovation and pushing boundaries.
He seems incredibly proud of that heritage, of being part of this movement that was changing the world.
And it wasn't just the technology itself. Jobs also saw personal computers as a catalyst for cultural change. He believed they would foster creativity, democratize access to information, and fundamentally alter the way we work, learn, and even start to look at life.
His vision was so expansive. It's incredible to think how much of what he talked about back in 1981 has become reality. But it also makes you wonder.
How would Jobs assess the current state of personal computing? Would he be satisfied with how his vision has unfolded? What would he think about the internet, smartphones, and the ways we use technology today?
Those are great questions. It's hard to imagine what he would make of the fact that we now carry more computing power in our pockets than existed in the entire world back then.
I think he would be, it's hard to say, but I bet he would be amazed by the sheer scale and accessibility of technology today.
But would he have any reservations?
Well, it's possible. Would he see the potential for these incredibly powerful tools to be misused? Something to think about.
Or what about the impact of technology on our privacy and attention spans?
Yeah, those are definitely issues that have come to the forefront in recent years.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Right.
Technology has brought us so many benefits, but it's also created new challenges.
And it's up to us to figure out how to navigate those challenges, to harness the power of technology for good while mitigating the potential risks.
It's a constant balancing act.
And it's something that we need to be mindful of as technology continues to evolve.
Absolutely. But ultimately, I think Jobs would be optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I think so too. He was a firm believer in the power of human ingenuity.
He believed that we could use technology to solve problems, to connect with each other, and to create a better world.
And in many ways, that vision has come true. But as with any powerful tool, there's always the question of how it's used and who benefits from its use.
So as we reflect on the legacy of Steve Jobs and the incredible impact of personal computing, it's also important to ask ourselves some critical questions.
How has technology empowered you? How has it changed your life? And what are the potential pitfalls we need to be aware of as technology continues to evolve?
Those are some big questions to consider, and they lead us to the end of our deep dive for today. It's been an amazing journey exploring this early interview with Steve Jobs.
What struck me most was his unwavering belief in the power of technology to empower individuals. He saw personal computers as tools for creativity, connection, and even self-discovery.
He wasn't just building machines, he was building possibilities.
It is. But as we've discussed, this incredible power comes with responsibility. It's up to each of us to use these tools wisely and thoughtfully.
It's like he gave us these amazing bicycles for the mind, and now it's up to us to decide where we want to ride them. What paths will we choose? What will we create? What problems will we solve?
And just as importantly, what potential pitfalls will we avoid? How do we ensure that technology enhances our lives without diminishing our humanity?
Those are questions worth pondering as technology continues to evolve at an ever-increasing pace.
Jobs challenged us to think differently, to push boundaries, and to embrace the potential of technology to make a positive impact on the world.
And that's a challenge worth taking up.
Right.
So as you go about your day, we encourage you to think about the role technology plays in your own life and how you can use it to create, connect, and make a difference.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked some new ideas and inspired you to keep exploring the ever-changing landscape of technology.
Yeah, it really has been fascinating, hasn't it? Going back and listening to Jobs talk about his vision for the future.
It's amazing how much of what he predicted has actually come true.
It really speaks to his foresight and his understanding of the potential of technology.
He wasn't just a tech genius, he was a visionary. He saw how personal computers could change the world.
And not just in practical ways, but in cultural ways, too.
He believed they could empower individuals to be more creative, more connected, and more informed.
He saw them as tools for self-discovery and self-expression, and he was right. Look at the world we live in today. We have access to more information and more tools than ever before.
And it's all thanks to the personal computer revolution that Jobs helped to spark.
It's a legacy that continues to shape our lives in profound ways.
It really does. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to remember that the future of technology is still being written.
We're all part of this ongoing story, and it's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to create.
Will we use these powerful tools to connect and collaborate? Or will we allow them to divide and isolate us?
Will we embrace the potential of technology to solve problems that improve lives? Or will we succumb to its potential for distraction and manipulation?
These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves as we move forward.
Because the choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow.
Jobs challenged us to think differently, to push boundaries, and to embrace the potential of technology to make a positive impact on the world.
And I think that's a challenge worth accepting. So as you go about your day, think about how you can use technology to create, to connect, and to make a difference. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.